Well, it doesn't get much better than Adrian Beltre's walk-off homer last night. And it doesn't get any better than beautiful weather here at Globe Life Park and the red-hot Rangers getting set to take on the Oakland Athletics. And Adrian Beltre again will be out there trying to work his magic. Welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Graves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this Friday night of Rangers baseball, a great late September night here at Globe Life Park. And Rangers this evening are going to send Nick TEPESCH out for his last start of the year. And, Tom, Nick has been one of the best Ranger pitchers going of late.
He really has, Buzz, and it's not just the last couple of starts. It's really the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Over his last 10 starts, his ERA is about 3.4. And one of the nice things about this season is that a lot of the young Ranger players and pitchers have gotten better as the season's gone on, and they're finishing strong. Nick is certainly in that category. His last 2 starts have been terrific. His last start against the Angels was a 7-inning, 1-run start. So he's on a pretty good roll. It's lasted the last couple of months. He'd love to finish strong with a great outing tonight against the A's.
Well, good thing about finishing strong like this against teams that are right in the thick of things coming next year. You know you've been there and done that against the best in the West. So Nick TEPESCH will try and continue that here this evening. He'll be backed up by none other than ROUGNED, ODOR and the rest of the Rangers. A's and Rangers coming up on TXA 21 right after this. On TXA 21 is sponsored by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. By Globe Life, the official life insurance company of the Texas Rangers. And by TXU Energy, inspired by you. A mostly overcast sky here this afternoon, giving way to just partly cloudy skies tonight. Everyone out in their weekend finest. Young Ranger fans cheering on their Rangers as they come down to the final 3 games of the season here this weekend. The umpires are meeting at home plate. Bobby Jones is out there delivering the lineup card for the Rangers tonight. Tim Bogart skippering a team that has gone 13-6 since Tim Bogart took over back on the 5th of September. And they are the hottest team in Major League Baseball, having won 12 of their last 13 ball games. Nick TEPESCH trying to keep that roll going. Rangers also have won 7 straight in this ballpark, and that is something that they have not accomplished here since back in late July of last year. Here's the A's order that Nick TEPESCH will face tonight. Coco Crisp leads off. Adam Dunn bats second. He's the DH. Josh Donaldson bats third and plays third. Brandon Moss at first. Jed Lowry, the shortstop, hits fifth. Josh Reddick in right field, followed by the catcher, Derek Norris. Norris, a long-time Ranger killer. Sam Full bats eighth and plays left field, and batting ninth, the second baseman, Eric Sogard.
And pitching tonight is Nick TEPESCH. We'll look at the scouting report for Nick. His one-loss record doesn't look that good, but his ERA is pretty solid at 4.14, and it's come down in the last couple of months. 2.96 ERA in his last 4 starts. Opponents are 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That's one of the reasons he's pitched well in his last 2 starts. And over his last 10 starts, which is about a couple of months, his ERA is just a little bit above 3.4. So Nick has not only been on a good roll his last couple of starts, he's been on a pretty good roll for the last couple of months. Pretty solid pitching.
Yeah, consistency is something Nick is really developing a lot of, and that's exactly what the Rangers want to see out of a young man that's just 25 years of age. Take a look at the Ranger defense, and we'll back up Nick TEPESCH here tonight. Outfield of Smolinski in left, Martin in center, and Robertson in right. Adam Rosales the start at first base. Odor and Andrews up the middle. Beltre, last night's hero, at third, and Robinson Chirinos again behind the plate. And Nick TEPESCH out of Blue Springs, Missouri, to get the start here tonight. He will face Coco Crisp, the switch-hitting center fielder, to start things off. And the first pitch to him tonight is chopped foul outside first. It is very quickly 0-1. Well, to put it very simply, the A's have to win 2 of the next 3 games to leave no doubt as to whether they will make the postseason or not. Seattle, to make it interesting, would have to win all 3 of their games. They're hosting the Los Angeles Angels this weekend. Pitch just a little bit inside, 1-1.
Yeah, regardless of what happens, Buzz, the Rangers have made the A's squirm a little bit. They're a little bit nervous right now, in spite of what they may say or publicly, but deep down inside, they're a little bit worried about the next 3 games based on what's happened the last 4 times against the Rangers.
And, I think Ranger fans can look back with a little bit of satisfaction on the A's having done the same thing to the Rangers the last couple of years. It made them squirm.
Yeah, for sure.
Eventually lost out in the division race to Bob Melvin's clubs in both 2012 and 2013. That pitch just outside from Nick TEPESCH, so he has fallen behind now. 3 balls and a strike to Coco Crisp. Crisp trying to lead off, getting aboard. Adam Dunn, a very curious insertion into the number 2 slot.
I don't think he's hit second very often. He may be the biggest second place hitter we've seen this year. But, they're struggling to score runs, so I don't blame Bob Melvin. He tried Josh Reddick at a different spot in the lineup last night. He's going to try Adam Dunn up there. Adam Dunn walks a lot, so maybe he'll be able to coax a couple of walks and get on base. He's just trying to do something to mix things up and score some runs.
Payoff pitch, line to right. Robertson coming in a hurry, slides and makes the catch. Good job by Daniel Robertson, and that was a very controlled slide. He had that ball in his sights the whole way.
Yeah, that was a well-hit ball, and as you said, Buzz, it was a very nice jump by Daniel. He went after it aggressively. See the concentration as he goes down, and it's almost like he slid just to make it a more comfortable catch. Probably could have caught it without the slide, but he felt that was the easiest way to make that catch.
And Adam Dunn, first ball swinging, fouls it away.
The other thing is, off the bat, you kind of make up your mind what you're going to do. You're not exactly sure how much that ball is going to sink. And so you kind of commit to the sliding catch. And Whether it's an inch off the ground or a foot off the ground, kind of hard to gauge that sometimes.
Well, one thing about Daniel Robertson, he is not going to get caught being non-aggressive out there. He is a very aggressive outfielder, and he will err on the side of aggressiveness if nothing else. 2-1 the count to Dunn. Dunn a .220 average overall, 22 home runs, 62 driven in. Nick Tepesch has pretty well had his way with Dunn. 0 for 8, the big left-handed slugger. 2-2. This matchup last week or 10 days ago or so in Oakland favored Nick Tepesch. He was the one that got Dunn swinging up there at fastballs and just couldn't catch up with him. Now the 2-2. Trying it again and missed high. Over the second straight hitter, Nick Tepesch has gone to a 3-2 count. Nick reading the signs, into the wind, the payoff pitch. We'll try it again. Dunn, as we mentioned, hitting second, kind of an oddity. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Josh Donaldson.
Dunn is 9th in the league with 71 walks. Not swinging the bat exceptionally well right now. In fact, he struck out 6 out of his last 9 at bats.
Got to make that 7 out of 10. Tepesch came in with a breaking ball on 3-2, the second 3-2 pitch, and gets his first strikeout. Oh, 2 gone.
Bottom drops out of this ball, down around the knees, and then sinks right to the bottom of the strike zone. And you can see Adam Dunn swing over the top of it. A pretty exceptional movement on that last pitch.
Take that back. That was a straight changeup. I thought it was a breaking ball the way it Dunn went after it, but it was a straight change and had the same effect. Oh, 2 away bases empty. Josh Donaldson takes a strike on the inside corner. Donaldson at .252. New career high for him at 97 runs driven. He's the team leader with 28 round trippers. That's into left center field. It is down, and Leonys Martin able to cut it off and get it back in quickly to prevent Donaldson from going to second. Josh Donaldson.
Boy, is that alive? Oh, no, that's his hair.
It could be alive.
Wow. That's a look right there.
Yeah. You know,
I'd like to have that. I'd like to have the hair to try that someday.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Looks good on him. I guess.
Is that a modified mullet? Is that what that? I'm not really sure what that. I don't know what you would call that thing. But it got Josh a hit, so that's all he's concerned about. 1 on 2 out. Brandon Moss is now the hitter. Moss a .236 average. He has been one of the A's that has really struggled since the All-Star break. Chops one foul outside first. That evens the count. And a ball and a strike. Brandon Moss is 4 for 10 against Nick Tepesch, but he does have a home run against him. Going back to the All-Star break, he has hit 176 in the 55 games since the Midsummer Classic. Another chop foul. And that's as opposed to hitting .268 with 21 home runs before the All-Star break. Talk about going from the penthouse to the basement. He took the express elevator down. Last 49 games, just 2 home runs. It has been a real struggle, and he's not the only one. The A's have scuffled mightily, especially since the trade of Yoenis Cespedes. Got him swinging. Tepesch, a good breaking ball, and he gets 2 strikeouts in the inning. A 1 out there, 2 out single goes to waste for the A's. They strand a runner. After a half inning, the A's nothing. The Rangers coming up. Nick TEPESCH strands that runner and has a couple of punch-outs in the first. Now the Rangers coming to bat. And here is their lineup this evening. Leonys Martin again leading off. Elvis Andrus is second. Then it's the DH tonight, Ryan Rua. Adrian Beltre, last night's hero, a .400 average in the last 7 games. He's batting cleanup. Jake Smolinski in left. Robinson Chirinos catches. Adam Rosales bats 7th, plays first base. ROUGNED ODOR plays second and batting 9th, the right fielder, Daniel Robertson.
Scott Kazmir on the mound for Oakland. Nice season when you look at the overall numbers. 14-9, 363 earned run average. But his last 4 starts have not been very good. He's lost all 4 of them with an ERA of 8.5. Against the Rangers a couple of starts ago, he really struggled. 4 1/3, 9 hits, 4 earned runs. And if you look what he did before the All-Star game, after the All-Star game, he's kind of a different pitcher. His last 16 starts, as a matter of fact, half of his season, he's 5-7 with an ERA of 5.3. He was one of the best pitchers in the league his first 15 starts, and not quite that in his last 16 starts.
Yeah, his trip downhill kind of parallels with what the club has done, and the offense at the same time. And you know, when your top winner in the first half of the season goes downhill along with the offense, that's not going to bode well for your ball club. And Bob Melvin is trying, as you mentioned, Tom, trying to find any kind of remedy possible for this last weekend of the season. Get the A's over the hump and get them into the postseason.
Now, one of the remedies for the pitching have been all the trades that the A's have made to bring Smarja, Hamill, who pitched a nice game last night, John Lester. And I think the idea was to get veteran guys that would be strong in September, because they might have been a little concerned about the starters they had in the first half of the season and how strong they would be in September. Based on the way Kazmir has pitched, looks like a pretty good move to get those pitchers. Yep. But Sonny Gray is he's a young pitcher. He's an excellent pitcher, but he's thrown 210 innings, and you have to be a little bit concerned. It's the first time he's ever done that before. Whereas Lester, Samardzija, and Hamill, they've been there before.
Leonys loops one into left. That's going to fall in front of Field for a base hit. Oh, good at bat by Leonys Martin, getting down on the count quickly and then working the count full. And he gets the leadoff single.
He slices that base hit to left field. He's done a very good job of using the whole field. Much better the last 6 weeks than he was earlier in the season. And he's really taking to the leadoff spot. He's bunted to get on base. He's running the bases well. Obviously swinging the bat well.
Elvis Andrus takes a strike from Scott Kazmir. Andrus, an RBI base hit last night against Kazmir, almost 30 at bats. He's 9 for 29. It's a 310 mark. The Rangers some opportunities here with speed on the bases. Leonys Martin at first, a guy who handles the bat well at the plate. There goes Martin. The pitch is inside. The throw is not in time. And sliding in safely with his 31st steal of the year, Leonys Martin.
Well, we remarked about Norris in Oakland that he got rid of the ball pretty well. He looked like he had a strong arm, but a lot of his throws were off target. And this throw, if it's on target, probably had a pretty good shot if he threw it, anywhere near the base, but it bounced. And when it bounces, the infielder has to lift his glove up a little bit and come back and make the tag, and it's a little bit more difficult to do that.
Well, now Leonys Martin in scoring position. By the way, the 31 steals coupled with 36 last year for Leonys Martin, a back-to-back 30-plus. Elvis showing bunt and takes the breaking ball low. 2 balls and a strike. One of 7 players, Leonys Martinez, 30 or more steals in each of the last 2 years. Altuve, Rajai Davis, Gerard Dyson, Jacoby Ellsbury, Rich Gomez, Harris Young Jr., the final of that group of 7. 7 RBI for Elvis in his last 10 ball games. And I mentioned last night only 2 in his previous 28. So he is turning things around. The 2-1 pitch coming from Kazmir. Now 2-2. Elvis, a .262 average. There's a couple of home runs to go along with those 41 ribbies. Pitch tracker showing you that last one, just catching the inside corner. Pickoff play at second, and the throw in the dirt. Really nice stop by Lauer to prevent that from going into center field. Lauer able to get up in front of the runner Leonis Martin to make that catch. If he's behind him, he may not be able to make that play. Now the 2-2 coming. Slowly hit to the right side. That will get Martin over to third. Elvis grounds out, and that's a great job by Elvis Andrus. When he goes into the dugout now, he's going to get high fives from everybody, because that was an excellent job of moving the runner, even though he had 2 strikes on him. Now with 1 out now, we'll take a look at the A's defense this evening. You already saw Sam Poole playing in left field. Coco Crisp in center, Josh Reddick in right, Randy Moss in first. Eric Sogard, Jed Lowry up the middle, Josh Donaldson at third, and Derek Norris is catching tonight. Well, with 1 out and Martin at third, here in the first inning, the A's bring the infield all the way in with Ryan Rua at the plate. 0-1 the count to Rua.
A lot of different guys over the last 6 weeks have had a chance to bat third in the Ranger lineup. I believe this is Ryan's first shot at the third spot. ROUGNED ODOR has hit third quite a bit with a lefty going. Ryan's getting his shot in that spot.
Tim Bogart trying to see as many guys in as many different situations as he can. That pitch alone inside. So he will give them the opportunity to do that, and that's what they are getting. And this is indeed the first start for Ryan Rua in that third spot. The injured Alex Rios had the majority the first 5 months of the season. There'll be at-bats there. 1-2 now. Well, Kazmir in a situation where he can go for the strikeout. Kazmir at one time a big strikeout pitcher when he first came up, first few years in the league. Not quite as much anymore. But what he's done too is cut down on his walks, and that has been a big benefit to him. 1-2. We'll come back and try it again.
And Kazmir in his last start against Philadelphia pitched 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 6 runs and 11 hits in that game, but he struck out 9. They had pretty good stuff, but just made a number of mistakes. Gets a lot of his strikeouts with his changeup.
Derek Norris going through a couple of ideas behind the plate. Kazmir sets. The foul straight back.
Well, pretty good fastball, 93 miles an hour. Ryan's seen his changeup yet, but might be getting ready to see it. Very good.
Kazmir, the Houston native. Went to Cy Falls High School and was drafted by the Mets after his senior year. Another 1-2 pitch is coming. That looked like the changeup.
Yeah, that was the changeup. He just didn't get it close enough to tempt Ryan to swing at it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. We're at 305, a couple of home runs. Got Leonis Martin down at third, the infield playing in. 2-2 pitch. Hit well to left center field. That is up the alley. It's going to the wall. One hopping off the wall. Leonis Martin scores. Into second with the RBI double, Ryan Rua. He gives the Rangers a 1-0 lead.
Kazmir set it up for the changeup, but he threw the changeup way out of the strike zone. So he came back with another fastball, a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and Ryan jumped all over it. A chance Just to bat third in the lineup. You got a man on third base and less than 2 outs. Gets a fastball down and in, and hit it in the gap with authority.
The Rangers the early 1-0 lead, and here's Adrian Beltre. Big strike one. He didn't miss by much hitting that ball in the bullpen.
Well, all you had to do is get it up in the air a little bit.
A little more elevation, huh?
Yep. Definitely hit it hard enough.
Adrian chops a pitch foul. It's now no balls, 2 strikes. Beltre last night with his 8th career walk-off home run. Here's Ryan Rua going in the second saying, yep, we've got that together. Beltre's walk-off home run last night. That was the first Ranger walk-off home run since last year. Beltre had one of those 3 consecutive walk-off home runs the end of July last year against the Los Angeles Angels. Current homestand, the 4 games, Adrian 5 for 14. Got a chance to add to that RBI total and add to the home run total. 0-2 the count as Casimir checks second. That one in on Adrian's fist. Still 0-2.
Well, Casimir's had to throw 22 pitches to get 1 out. Rangers making him work a little bit.
1 on, 1 in, and 1 out here in the first. Another 0-2 to Beltre. Call strike 3, and Adrian knew it.
That's a changeup, and that's what he was trying to get with Ryan Rua. Only he threw it way out of the strike zone. That one, he was able to drop right in the strike zone. It just kind of floats in there. And for Adrian not to swing at a pitch with 2 strikes that's in the middle of the strike zone like that, you can tell it was a pretty good pitch, and it fooled him.
Well, 2 away. It'll be up to Jake Smolinski now if he's going to extend this inning against Scott Casimir. Smolinski a .360 average. Got him on the fist, and Donaldson near the bag at third, throws across the diamond, and the first has come to a close. But Rangers get on the board. Ryan Rua doubles home Leonis Martinez. A run on 2 hits and 1 left. After 1, Rangers 1, A's nothing. Ways to exercise with Medical Center Arlington Texas Rangers Fitness All-Star Program. Program focuses on nutrition and getting kids active, and you can also see the videos that the kids are seeing by visiting texasrangers.com/fitness. Top of the second inning, Nick Tepesch now with a 1-0 lead to protect. And he will face Jed Lowry, Josh Reddick, and Derek Norris. Lowry, a .245 average. Switch hitter up there from the left side. Takes the first pitch high for ball one. Lowry 6 home runs, 46 driven in, 2 for 9 in his career against Nick Tepesch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Sharp stuff so far for Nick. Good sinker with movement. Good curveball. That was a good slider.
Nick wanted to work a little more quickly, and guys back near the plate said, wait a minute here. Time out. Now the 1-1. Line over the glove of Elvis out into left center field. Lowry, a big turn at first, and he will hang on as Leonis Martin got over to cut it off. No, a leadoff single for the A's here in the second. That'll bring up Josh Reddick.
Curveball to Lowry and lines it over Elvis's head. Adrian's jumping up in the air with him, see if he can't get him a little higher, but that was even too hard for both of them jumping at the same time. Elvis probably has a little more hang time than Adrian at this stage of his career.
Yeah, you would think so. Josh Reddick takes the first pitch high and away for ball one. Reddick at .254. 11 home runs and 49 driven in. Reddick has hit very well against the Rangers this year. In a dozen games, he has hit .308. Right center field. Leonis Martin tracking this one near the track. And puts it away. Back to first goes Lowry. And a long out number 1 off the bat of Reddick.
Reddick looked like he got the cutter or slider, whatever you want to call it. Hit it pretty well. Not as well as he can hit it, but he hit it about 385 feet.
Derek Norris would be next. Tom, does it look like to you that Leonis Martin is getting a little better jump lately?
I just think he's getting better and better. Yeah, I think he's doing everything better. He's getting a chance to lead off. I think it's given him a lot of confidence. Proving that he can be, trying to prove that he can be a leadoff hitter and having some success, getting a chance to play against left-handed pitchers. I just think it's taken him a while to really get comfortable at the big league level with all the things he's been asked to do as a center fielder and a guy that needs to get on base to utilize his speed. And right now it's coming together for him. The last 4 weeks to 6 weeks with a week left, a few games left in the season. He's had a good September. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's playing a very good center field. I remember when he first got to the big leagues, Gary Pettis used to say, it's tough for us to put him in a game right now. His instincts in the outfield really are a little bit suspect.
Right.
We've got to work with him out there. So where he came from several years ago to where he is right now is an entirely different ball player.
Double play ground ball. His second for 1. Back across the first. A 5-4-3 double play. The Rangers turn their 150th double play of the year. Who's going to hit? So the double play takes care of that. After 1.5, Rangers on top, 1-0. Questions on tonight's game to Mark McLemore at 469-209-2121. And if you read your text on the postgame show tonight, you'll win a $50 sporting goods gift card courtesy of Metro PCS. Yeah, young lady following Tom Greaves' advice, bringing her glove to the ballpark.
Good for her. That's a beautiful glove she's got, too.
It is.
Brand new.
She's all ready, too, boy. So hit the ball to me, please.
Looks like a big league Rawlings glove right there. Elvis could be using that one.
Robinson Chirinos leading off for the Rangers here in the bottom of the second. Rangers on top 1-0. Chirinos, a .241 average. That is career best 8-game hitting streak come to a close last night. Taps one off the glove of Cashmere. It deflects right to Sogard at second. Turns into a very easy play. That had center field written all over it until Cashmere's glove got in the way. So a 1-4-3 put out, retiring Chirinos. One away for Adam Rosales. Rosales, 277 with 4 home runs and 19 driven in. 7 for 14 with a home run in his career against Scott Kazmir. Kazmir last year with the Cleveland Indians. They signed him, brought him to camp this spring, and had a very good spring training for him. Fires strike one. Kazmir just 2 years ago was out of organized baseball. He was pitching down in Sugarland in the Atlantic League independent ball, trying to get another opportunity. He did. He pitched well down there and then got a chance with the Indians. Turned into one of the more reliable starters for Cleveland last year toward the tail end of the year.
Kazmir made a lot of money, so good for him going to that level of ball to try to prolong his career. For most people, that's not a stepping stone to the big leagues.
And a little roller out to Lowry at short, charging. And on the run, he throws out Rosales, 2 gone. Yeah, that's not the preferred path, I don't think, for especially guys that have had a taste of the big leagues. That's not where you want to end up. Kazmir persevered and got the opportunity. Now he's making the most of it. Matter of fact, he has a career high in 14 wins this year. Previous high had been 13 with Tampa Bay. ROUGNED ODOR, number 8 hitter, .259 average with 9 home runs and 47 RBI. Line drives going up the ladder is Brandon Moss at first to make the grab. He takes extra bases away from ODOR. Rangers are gone in order very quickly in the second. After 2, Rangers 1, A's nothing. is with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You can enjoy live look-ins and instant replay, scores, live radio broadcasts, the MLB.TV game of the day, and a whole lot more. Get At Bat for your smartphone or tablet at the App Store or visit MLB.com. Sam Fuld starting off the top of the third inning. It'll be Fuld, Sogard, and Crisp. The first pitch from Nick TEPESCH is a little high for ball one. Sam Fuld, 241 overall, 4 home runs, 36 driven in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fuld 211 with the Oaklanders. Came over from a trade with Minnesota. Tom Malone traded to the Twins, and Fuld came over. Makes a fastball that's just inside. 2 balls and a strike. Nick TEPESCH, 30 pitches so far, 17 strikes and 13 balls. Fuld lifts one in the air to left field. In and toward the line, Jake Smolinski. That is out number 1. One left fielder taking care of the other. And Eric Sogard now will come up.
Nick is suffering from a little bit of what you would call a lack of run support. We talked about his 1-loss record being only 5-10 with a pretty solid ERA. In 12 of his last 13 starts, he's had two runs or less support. So as well as he's pitching with an ERA of about 3.4 over that time, it's tough to win if you're only getting 2 runs.
Yeah.
You're just giving up a little more than you're getting, even though what you're giving up is pretty good.
A ball and a strike to Sogard. Yeah, you get 2 runs every time you walk out there. You got to be pretty good to win most of them.
And Rangers have been scoring some runs the last couple of weeks, but evidently the days they are unable to score are the days Nick is pitching.
It's outside. Well, the most runs that TEPESCH has gotten in a start was 6, and that was against the Angels when he pitched against them out there in Anaheim.
Yeah, that must have been the 1 game out of the 13.
Right. That was the 1 game. Inside to Sogard. The count goes to 3-1. Sogard, the number 9 hitter, trying to get aboard and the top of the order. Coco Crisp waiting to be next. TEPESCH back to the plate and misses outside. Ball 4. Nick with a 1-out walk. Sogard aboard. Crisp coming up for the 2nd time tonight. First walk issued by TEPESCH. Crisp out on a line drive to right field. Daniel Robertson out there made a nice sliding catch to take a base hit away from Crisp. You're waiting for a double play grounder. Don't hold your breath. Crisp has grounded into exactly 1 all year. Better than 500 at bats.
You know, the other thing he doesn't do very often is get hit by a pitch. 473 games without being hit by a pitch. Said in the A's notes, the last guy to hit him was C.J. Wilson back on May 9th of 2011.
C.J. was with the Rangers then, huh?
Yeah.
Crisp checking with their third base coach down there, Mike Gallego. See what Bob Melvin might have in mind. 0-1 the count, 1 on and 1 out. Rangers leading 1-0. Sogard, pretty good speed at first. Of course, Crisp handles the bat well. And the throw in the dirt gets away from Rosales, but not far enough to allow Sogard. As a matter of fact, I think that throw might have hit Eric Sogard. Oakland this year, a little over 82% success rating. That's the highest percent of success in the major leagues. Meanwhile, they give up the 4th highest percent to their opponents. which is another story we'll talk about when the Rangers get somebody on. Leonis Martinez already exploited that tonight. Created the first Ranger run with a stolen base in the first. Crisp, ground ball to Rosales to second. It's a wild throw, and it goes into left field.
That's a rare wild throw. Adam has played a lot of first base over the last couple of months, and very seldom have we seen a bad throw. I just have to think he didn't get a very good grip on that ball. He had to lunge for the ball, got up quickly to throw it to try to get a double play, and judging by the spin on that ball, I'm not sure he had the right two fingers gripping that ball when he threw it. Looked like he just kind of sailed on him.
Well, fielder's choice to allow Crisp to reach base. The error charged to the Adam Rosales on the throw. That allows Sogard to reach second. So 2 on with 1 out. And Adam Dunn now up there with the Rangers pulling the infield around to the right. First pitch to him is outside and high for ball 1. Might be one of those situations where if Dunn hits a ground ball to Beltre at third, he's going to try and allow Elvis to turn the double play at second.
Don't see the 5-6-3 very often.
Not very often.
That's what it's going to be.
ROUGNED ODOR way over in the hole on the first base side.
It will be a little bit of a surprise, I guess, if Dunn does hit a ground ball to AT.
Yeah.
Might have to be a changeup off the end of the bat, maybe.
Yeah, he offered one out there and couldn't get him to swing at it. It's 2 balls, no strikes. TEPESCH trying to work out of his first tight spot here tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick would say the most upsetting part of this little rally is the walk out to Sogard, 9th place hitter, with 1 out and nobody on. The Rangers over the last few days have been doing a nice job of pitching out of jams. Nick's got a little bit of one right here.
The Ranger starters in particular have been very, very solid of late. Mike Maddox watching these guys get that team ERA down. The starting staff, Ranger starters have allowed 3 earned runs or less in 17 of the last 18 games. It goes back to the first day that Tim Bogart took over as the interim manager. Three balls and a strike. Sogard and Crisp, second and first respectively. And a pop foul that's going to reach the seats and past the A's dugout. Well, the count goes full down to Adam Dunn. Dunn hitting second in the order. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Josh Donaldson. An important at bat for Nick TEPESCH to get Dunn, keep him off the sacks. See Elvis Andrus, the shortstop, almost holding the runner at second. Sogard, of course, very aware where Elvis is. He's not going to stray too far away.
That's a good spot for holding the runner on, because that's where Elvis is playing him anyway, almost right there.
Line to deep right field, into the corner. It is off the wall. 2 runs will score. Chris following Sogard into the plate, into second with a 2-run double. Adam Dunn, and the A's take the lead. It's 2-1 Oakland.
Adam Dunn moved up to the second spot in the order, and early in the game it paid off. He struck out his first time up, but that time he ripped one right down the line.
So Adam Dunn drives in 63rd and 4th RBI of the year. He is at second base now, still just 1 out. And Josh Donaldson, a rip and a miss at that cut fastball. shot from our wedgie cam out there in right field. Ball coming right into your living room. Donaldson had a single to center field his first time up. Oh, 1 pitch. Tepesch trying to minimize the damage in the second inning, or third inning, I should say. Donaldson 253 for the year. Line to right. That sends Robertson back. And on the track, he has a little hop to catch that ball.
I think he thought he was a little closer to the wall than he really was. But that was a hard hit ball. He didn't have a lot of time to get underneath that ball. He just had to go back and hope he could get to it. Took a little leap. And he made the play. Nice play by Daniel.
Well, out number 2, and now Mike Maddox is going to make a trip to the mound. Left-handed hitting Brandon Moss at the plate, and Jed Lowry to follow. You have first base open.
Well, Moss is hitting 176 since the All-Star break, and Lowry's hitting around 200 over the last 2 weeks. So neither one of them are swinging a hot bat right now.
We'll take a look while we have a second. Talking about Daniel Robertson, our Globe Life quote of the game from Daniel Robertson. I've learned how drastic things can change and how humbling baseball is. One day the game can humble you, and the next day it can get pretty excited. It makes you appreciate the game a lot more.
Well, it's kind of, you can also see how your own personal circumstances can change dramatically. Daniel was a minor league player in San Diego. Not sure what his prospects were being called up in San Diego. But because of the trade, he came to the big leagues with the Rangers, and he's handled himself very well for the months that he's been here.
Moss turns on one and pulls it deep but foul down the right side.
He's gone from being a minor league player to a solid big league player. Put himself in position to have an opportunity to make the team next year in spring training.
One ball, one strike to Moss. Brandon Moss a strikeout his first time, and Nick Tepesch almost plunked him with that slider. 2 balls and a strike. And that is inside. 3-1. Nick trying to make sure that he doesn't leave something out over the plate. And he's falling behind Moss. If Moss reaches, then Jed Lowry would get a shot here in the third inning. Tepesch sets the 3-1 pitch. High and tight. Ball 4, and that will put 2 aboard for Lowry. Second walk of the inning and of the game for Tepesch.
Shortstop Jed Lowry.
2 on. Lowry, a single to center to start the second. Was erased on a double play 1 hitter later. Dunn being trailed by Moss. Tepesch to the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Nick right now struggling to get a strike on the first base side of home plate. Missing off the plate inside of the left-handers. Little looper, shallow center going out. Elvis, a leap, and he makes the catch.
That's so good.
Oh, what a play by Elvis Andrus. Fully extended, picking it out of midair and going to the dirt. Yeah, it saved at least 1 run. The A's, though, take the lead. They get 2 runs on 1 hit and a very big error and lead 2. And thanks to Elvis Andrus, it's only a 2-1 Oakland lead. Ball on TXA 21 is sponsored by Sports City Toyota. Log on to sportscitytoyota.com. Now the game turned around in the top of the 3rd inning. He's got a couple of runs, one of them unearned. But they have taken a 2-1 lead. They'll just come to bat here now against Scott Kazmir with the number 9 hitter, Daniel Robertson, leading things off. Daniel, a .270 average. 1 ball, no strikes. Remember, that 2 for 20 streak. He started to come out of it. It's a strike to even things up. Daniel 3 for his last 10. There are the breakdowns for you we were talking about. Kazmir to the wind, the 1-1 pitch. 1-2. Daniel, one of those guys not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Does a pretty good job, especially when he's leading off an inning like he is now. You've seen him in the leadoff spot in the Rangers lineup. Have the same kind of approach. Rolls 1 out to short. Lowry on the run, gets the out at first. 1 gone. Back to the top of the Ranger order. Leonis Martin will face Scott Kazmir. Martin looping single to left as he led things off tonight for the Rangers. Stole second. Ryan Rua brought him home with an RBI double. And first ball swinging gets popped up. Left side of the diamond. Lowry, the shortstop, calling off Donaldson. That was out number 2. That is 7 straight now sent down by Kazmir. Since that RBI double from Rua. Next will be Elvis Andrus. Elvis did a good job of moving Leonis Martin from second to third in that first inning. Grounded out to the right side. Brings in a modest 3-game hitting streak. 0-1. Elvis exactly 1 hit in each of those 3 games. Kazmir studying the signs, the left-hander. Back to the plate. 1-2. Rangers starting to bring their home average back up. They're now at 10th in the American League at 253. For a while down there, they were right at the bottom of the group. That pitch just foul.
Donaldson going to hurt himself diving for a foul ball.
And it looked like he did hurt himself. Getting up, not able to put any weight on that left foot.
It was a great effort, but man, that's going overboard diving. I guess he didn't know the ball was foul when he dove for it, but boy, that would be a shame. He's pretty much their most productive guy right now in the middle of their lineup with everybody else struggling.
Grabbing that left knee, or the back of the left knee, it looks like. And the trainer out there right now to take a look at that. Did not waste any time, and Donaldson in obvious pain.
You don't want to lose anybody any time of the year, but if you're getting ready for the postseason, I think if you looked at the A's lineup and said which guy could you least afford to lose, I'd probably think it was Donaldson right now. Yeah, hopefully he'll be okay. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Get back up and see what kind of weight he can put on that thing. Bob Melvin right there along with the A's trainer. And hopefully it was just a cramp or something that kind of caught him. Another look at that. And you're right, Tom. I don't think he was going to take the chance that it was foul. And he hit that knee really hard going down. He immediately came up and grabbed the back of his leg. So it may have just been a cramp back there. Sometimes those things feel like
it sure looked a lot worse than it turned out to be.
Sure did.
Fortunately, he's going to be able to stay in the game. And he just mashed it right straight into the ground.
So 1-2 now the count to Elvis. Kazmir back to the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Kazmir not straying from the top of the pitching mound. And a little roller by the mound, charging Lowry. Off balance throw, got it. And Tim Bogart quickly out of the Ranger dugout. He is going down to first base, and James Hoy, the first base umpire, talking to Tim Bogart. And you see a Bogey turns around to get some input from the bench.
I thought he got him.
And it looks like, well, that's not going to be a challenge on that. The replay, which Joey Probinski saw upstairs, would show you that that probably is the right call. So that'll do it for the Rangers. They're retired in order. We have finished 3 at Globe Life Park. It's the A's 2 and the Rangers 1. Athletics have a 2-1 lead over the Rangers as the A's come to bat, with Josh Reddick leading things off. The first pitch from Nick Tepesch is low and inside for ball one. Reddick, a fly ball to center, his first time up there. A's 2 runs on 3 hits. Rangers 1 run on 2 hits. That ball is blasted to right field. Robertson is back at the wall. He leaps, but it's gone. Josh Reddick with his 12th home run of the year, and the A's now have a 3-1 lead.
Reddick didn't get all of it, but he got enough of it. Front row. See what he hit. A fastball. A little bit too much of the plate, it looked like. Daniel's going up as high as he can. Came pretty close to it. In fact, that looked like he was high enough.
Yeah.
Just wasn't over enough.
So a 2-run lead now for the A's. At the right elevation.
Yeah, I think if he was in the right place, he might have made a spectacular play. But, you know, that's easier said than done when you're chasing the ball as fast as you can and trying to jump as high as you can. Pretty hard to get in the exact right spot. On a fly ball where you have time and you can gauge it, that's one thing. That was more of a line drive and just couldn't quite get to it. Great try, though.
376 feet off the bat of Josh Reddick. Eric Norris takes the next pitch. That's low. 2 balls and no strikes. Norris rounded into a double play his first time up there. That home run, by the way, for the A's, the 145th of the year. They came into play right in the middle of the pack in the American League. 144 had them 8th in the AL. Chopper foul by Norris. 2-1 now. Norris, the longest streak of his career without a home run. 39 ball games for the A's catcher. Last home run back on August the 9th. Inside. The count goes to 3 balls and a strike. Home run given up by Nick Tepesch, by the way, the 15th that he has allowed this year. 3-1 pitch. He's backing out at the last second. And Nick Tepesch standing back behind the mound. So, okay, make sure you're in there and ready to go. (3-1). Roller behind the bag. It's a foul ball. Little assist from Adrian Beltre for a fan in the first row. Count is now full to Norris. Very comfortable evening here tonight on this Friday night. 83 degrees at game time. We have dropped down a degree. Very light breeze drifting in from left field. About 7-8 miles an hour probably. Payoff pitch in the air to center field. Plenty of time for Leonis to amble over there and make the grab. That is out number 1. Now before Sam Fuld comes up, let's welcome in Bill Jones. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Doing very well. I'm filling in for James Slater, who, of course, has moved on to the Longhorn Network, my beloved Longhorn Network. And so I'm doing the Around the Ballpark reports tonight. And I want to tell you about Fan Appreciation Day coming up on Sunday. All fans coming to the ballpark on Sunday will receive a free voucher for a free upper reserve ticket to select 2015 home games. And perhaps we'll have as memorable a final day of the season as we had 30 years ago. And that was, of course, September 30th, 1984, when Mike Witt and the Angels were here. And Tom Grieve, you probably remember that final game of the season because Witt threw a perfect game. But I think the most remarkable thing about that final game of the season in 1984, it was played in 1 hour and 49 minutes. Maybe we'll have more of the same this Sunday. But the Ranger throwing a perfect game, maybe.
I do remember that, Bill. I just become the general manager the last month of the season. And as that perfect game was unfolding, all I could think of was what a fitting end to a miserable year. That's pretty much what should have happened to us at the end of that season.
And Bill's right. It didn't take very long.
No.
It was over quickly. And a ball four to Sam Folds. Walk, the third issue tonight. And Nick TEPESCH puts a runner on with 1 out. And Eric Sogard coming up.
Second baseman Eric Sogard.
Mike Maddox will make another trip out to the mound and see if he can't get Nick TEPESCH to refocus and find the strike zone.
Well, Nick's had a couple of walks that I'm sure he would not like to have had. Sogard walked with 1 out to start the 2-run rally in the third, and he's hitting 154 in the last 10 games. Fold in the month of September, 21 games, came into the game hitting 178. So those are 2 guys at the bottom of the lineup that you say to yourself, I'm going to make them hit the ball, and unfortunately, both of them have a walk in the game.
Rosales over there talking with Sam Fold and Ty Waller, the first base coach. Robbie Ross Jr. up and loosening in that Ranger bullpen. The conference concluded, and Eric Sogard stepping into the batter's box. 1 on, 1 out, 1 in. A 3-1 Oakland lead, and Nick TEPESCH will work to Sogard. Strike on the inside corner. Sogard drew that walk that Tom just told you about. Came around to score the first Oakland run. 222 average. Fold with pretty good speed at first. Very modest lead. Sogard and switch hitting Nick Punto and pretty much a straight platoon. Sogard getting almost all of his starts against right-handed pitchers. And Punto takes the starts against left-handers. TEPESCH peering in for the sign, has one from Chirinos. Line to center field, but nearly in his tracks. Leonis Martin maybe back a couple of steps, makes the grab. Back to first goes Fold. There are now 2 outs, and Coco Crisp will come up. Folks, if you want nonstop action, heart-pounding excitement, and historic performances, don't miss the 2014 Major League Baseball postseason. That starts on September the 30th. Check MLB.com for schedules for this year's postseason. And the specific participants have yet to be completely finalized. He is one of the teams that is on the verge but has not clinched a postseason berth yet. Kansas City in the same kind of a position, although closer than the A's are. Kansas City had a magic number of 1 to clinch coming into play tonight, and they were leading at last look. A's magic number was 2, and Seattle was the one on the outs trying to get back in.
But if the A's win this game, then they'll have to sit in the clubhouse and wait for the game in Seattle to end, because if they win and Seattle loses, then they clinch.
That's right.
Talking to Ray Fosse, who's doing their color analysis on their TV game, and they're going to have to stay if the A's win this game to cover that celebration. Based where the A's were 6 weeks ago, I'm sure they're not going to feel like a huge celebration. But I guess when you get the chance to celebrate, you got to take advantage of it. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Who knows when you get another one. And there's probably some people here with their ball club who have never had that experience before and may never have it again. So you can't take that away from them.
1-1 the count to Coco Crisp, who is 0 for 2. He's lined out and reached on a fielder's choice. High fly ball to right. Robertson backpedaling onto the track. Makes the grab. That will do it. Josh Reddick, though, gets the A's on the board again. A leadoff home run. The A's strand a runner. After 3.5, it's now Oakland 3 and your Rangers 1. The bottom of the fourth inning, it'll be the middle of the order to face Scott Kazmir. The A's leading 3-1. They not hit the Rangers 4-2. Ryan Rua to start things off against Kazmir. Kazmir has now retired the last 8 straight. Rua the last to reach base safely against him with a 1-out RBI double in the first. First pitch of the fourth inning to Rua. It's over for strike one. Ryan, a .313 average. Got that changeup and stayed up and fouled it back. I think he'd like to have another go at that one. That was in prime hitting position. 0-2. Rua with the RBI double. Now has 14 RBI, and he was trailing ROUGNED ODOR since the 29th of August for tops on the ball club in that span. ODOR with 15 and Rua with 14. And the rookies getting it done for the Rangers. They have you throw Jake Smolinski in there, and they have really done a job as far as being productive this last 3 or 4 weeks.
You're knocking 15 runs every month. You're knocking 90 runs, so it's a pretty good number for a month.
Lost to Diamond, and Rua is retired corner to corner. That's out number 1. It'll bring up Adrian Beltre.
Third baseman Adrian Beltre.
Donaldson apparently showing no ill effects from that knee problem that he had last inning. Beltre called out on strikes. He was punched out on 3 pitches by Kazmir. That was back in the first inning. First pitch to him in the fourth is a little bit low for ball 1. Adrian, a .325 average. Fourth in the American League in the batting race. Takes a strike here to even the count. And our Ford leaderboard, all-time home runs. in the all-time list. Adrian on there at 56, just one behind Joe Carter. And just 5 shy of 400. Also, last night was his 19th home run of the year, and he was 1 home run shy now of having his 12th 20 home run season. 2-1 the count. Skied to shallow left field. Long run in for Full. Plenty of time to get there, and just in foul territory. Full captures it for out number 2. Kazmir now with 10 consecutive retired, and Jake Smolinski will come to the plate.
I mentioned that Kazmir had struggled in his last 2 starts. 10 earned runs and 9 2/3. But he's pitching much better tonight after he gave up a run on a couple of hits in the first inning. Had a good fastball, good command with his fastball too.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's the biggest difference between now and when we saw him out in Oakland. Able to get ahead with some quality strikes. Balls behind Smolinski are 2 balls and no strikes. Smolinski, a ground ball to third. That ended the Ranger first inning. Takes a knee-high strike, 2-1. Jake at 355. That was first major league home run against these A's out in Oakland. Fouls off the next pitch to even things up at 2-2. Last 10 ball games, Smolinski a 333 average. Two-two pitch popped up right side in foul territory. Long run over for Moss, but he runs out of room. That ball back in the first row, and Moss not going to challenge that concrete barrier. Brick and concrete. Probably a good idea. Well, still 2 balls, 2 strikes. That 10 game span we had just talked about for Jake, that's the number of games he has been in since he came back off the disabled list. He was activated the 16th of the month when the Rangers were out in Oakland. Another 2-2. That'll run the count full. Smolinski trying to get aboard to extend this 4th inning. Robinson Chirinos, the Ranger catchers, waiting to be next. Kazmir with a payoff pitch. Down the left field line. That is a fair ball right on the track. Into the corner. Smolinski into second. And he was thinking about third, but puts the brakes on. As Full had a little trouble with the carom, but not enough to allow Jake to get there easily. He settles for his 5th double of the year.
Yeah, not enough to be gained. Risky going to third. With a couple of outs anyway. Let's see what he hit. High fastball, looked like right at the middle of the plate, top of the strike zone. Another line drive for Jake as he just barely keeps this fair. It's hooking a little bit down the line. Not like some of them do, and it's just enough to stay fair. I guess it hooked just enough to stay fair. right on the line. Another inch would have been foul.
Wow. A 3rd Ranger hit of the night. 2 of them have gone for extra bases.
The chalk comes in handy for the umpire the way it flies up in the air like that.
Sure does. Smolinski at second with 2 outs. Robinson Chirinos takes the first pitch on the inside corner for strike 1.
Chalk is a dead giveaway if that's fair ball.
Chirinos, a ground ball off of Kazmir's glove right to the second baseman Sogard. His first time, and he swings through a fastball there. It's 0-2. Robinson, a .240 average, trying to increase his RBI total, which currently stands at 38. Kazmir checking Smolinski. Chirinos has a pretty good hack at a high fastball. Tim Bogart, interim manager for the Rangers, and look at the difference in the rookies used. Oakland has used a grand total of 2 rookies this year. That is the fewest in Major League Baseball. Meanwhile, the Rangers have used 23, almost an entire roster.
That's mind-boggling. Beginning of the year, if you were going to say you're going to use 23 rookies, you'd say, where did they all come from?
Yeah.
You don't have 23 guys that you can call up in the minor leagues. They would all come from the minor leagues, though.
And Chirinos out in front of that changeup. Kazmir gets the strikeout. He strands Smolinski, who doubled. So we'll go to the 5th inning here at Globe Live Park. It's the A's 3 and the Rangers 1. Freedom Dodge. Nobody beats a Freedom deal. Nobody. And a 3-1 A's lead as Nick Tepesch heads back to the mound. He will face Adam Dunn, Josh Donaldson, and Brandon Moss here in the 5th. Dunn, the difference in the ball game. He had a 2-run double in the 3rd. Took the A's from being down 1-0 to leading it 2-1. And Reddick led off the 4th with a home run. That has been the total of the A's damage against Tepesch tonight.
We've seen Dunn swing and miss at a lot of belt high pitches or higher, especially on the inside part of the plate. Pitch he hit was down at the bottom of the strike zone. He was able to get the bat on it. Might have been a hanging cut fastball and slider maybe.
0-2 pitch. That's rifled to center. Well, Leonis Martin played that like it was a knuckleball. May have knuckled out. It's going down to one knee to make the grab for out number 1.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened, Buzz. He's looking at his glove to make sure it's still in there. Might have been R.A. Dickey's knuckleball the way that thing appeared to drop right at the end. No lights straight ahead like that.
Josh Donaldson taking a breaking ball for strike 1. Donaldson a single in the 1st, line to right in the 3rd inning. 253 the average for the A's 3rd baseman. A little slower breaking ball that time. 1 ball and 1 strike. Career high 97 RBI this season. The last A's player to drive in 100 or more, Frank Thomas. There's Donaldson. Shoots one through the middle of the diamond into center field, the base hit, and he's not moving too well down that line to first.
Yeah, he's still limping.
First baseman Brandon Moss.
A 1 on, 1 out. And Brandon Moss will be the next hitter. Moss struck out in the first, drew a walk in the third inning. Rangers will not hold Donaldson at first, considering how limited he was running-wise, getting down that line. Adam Rosales with a left-handed pull hitter up there, trying to get as much range as possible, playing back behind Donaldson. Rangers in that overshift. ODOR midway between first and second. Elvis Andrus over on the first base side of second by a good 4 or 5 steps. 1 ball, no strikes. That's just inside. 2-0. Nick now has gotten that pitch total up to 81 this season. 42 strikes, 39 balls, and again, Bobby Ross Jr. loosening that Ranger bullpen. TEPESCH sets the 2-0 pitch. Hard hit on foul.
Boy, it hit an empty section.
Yeah,
right
unfortunately,
there.
some empty seats.
4 empty seats in that row, and I think it might have hit that lady in the red, but if it did, it kind of hit her in the back. But as hard as it was hit, it could still have hurt. Fortunately, there's no one sitting next to her. It could have been problematic for sure.
Got a play to the left this time. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Moss last year was the A's leader with 30 home runs. And he finished second on the team with 87 RBI. And this year, a stark contrast after the first half. Really struggled in the second half. We detailed that for you. In the dirt, Chirinos able to knock it down and keep Donaldson from advancing. And the count goes full. So 1 out. It doesn't look like that Donaldson would be a candidate to take off here. Moss trying to get aboard to join him. Jed Lowry, the shortstop, is the next hitter. TEPESCH set for the payoff pitch. We'll have to come back and try it again. Moss back in there, hitting out of that open stance. TEPESCH reading the signs. Now he is ready. Another 3-2. Lost it outside for ball 4. That puts 2 aboard with 1 out for Jed Lowry. And it's going to bring Mike Maddox out again.
Shortstop Jed Lowry.
Second time that Moss has drawn a walk. Bobby Ross Jr. loose if needed. And this might be TEPESCH's last hitter. You got Josh Reddick, who hit the home run, waiting to come up after Jed Lowry.
Since the second inning, since the beginning of the third inning, Nick has had to throw a lot of pitches. He's jammed a number of pitches into the last 2 1/3.
Now, almost 60 pitches, as a matter of fact, since that they've taken about 28, I think it was, to go through the first 2. The conference concluded. Home plate umpire Paul Emmel going out there and Umpires always break up good meetings. They have that kind of effect.
And sometimes if the umpire doesn't break it up, those meetings might never end.
Yeah, you're right.
It takes the umpire to do that.
A 2 on with 1 out. Lowry 1 for 2. He's off the breaking ball that hangs wide. 1-0. Lowry hit a little dunker into center field that Elvis Andrus made a great running catch to save at least 1, if not 2 runs. Back in the 3rd inning. Line drive over the leap of Rosales into the corner. Donaldson is limping around third. He will score. Stopping at third is Brandon Moss in with the RBI double, Jed Lowry, and the A's have a 4-1 lead.
That was a well-hit ball by Lowry. Great swing. He really ripped that ball over Adams' head down the right field line. And Nick has not had many starts like this over the last couple of months. That's kind of a slider. It looked like that flattened out, caught the middle of the plate. And Lowry, as he probably should have on that pitch, put a good swing on it.
Well, that's going to do it for Nick TEPESCH. Tim Bogar out to take the ball and signal for the left-hander Robbie Ross to come on in. So he will inherit runners at second and third. Oakland leading 4-1. We're back after this timeout on TXA 21.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. A Samson call from the Rangers bullpen.
Have been able to do, and Robbie Ross Jr. trying to put the kibosh on that as he comes into the ball game. Runners at second and third. Ross appearing in his 27th ball game of the year. Facing Josh Reddick, and the first pitch is inside for ball 1. Ranger infield now pulled all the way into the cut of the grass. Reddick is homered and flied to center. Fouls off the next pitch, and the count evens at 1-1. Robbie, the 25-year-old out of Lexington, Kentucky. Facing Reddick. Reddick is 2 for 5 in his career against Robbie Ross Jr. He'll make that 3 for 6. He hits one into the gap in right center field. That's going to score a pair. A long single for Reddick. In to score is Moss. In to score is Lowry. The A's have opened it up to a 6-1 lead.
Well, Reddick is this year a much better hitter against right-handers than left-handers. Lefties, he's only hitting right around 200. He got a pretty good pitch to hit there, right near the middle of the plate, and then he put a good swing on it. Didn't matter whether the lefty or righty throwing that pitch, he ripped it.
Well, that closes the book now on Nick TEPESCH for the night. Nick in 4 1/3 gave up 6 runs, 5 of them earned on 6 hits, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Derek Norris takes strike 1 from Ross. Norris is grounded into a double play and fly to center. Over the years, Norris 3 for 7 against Robbie Ross Jr. Picks something off, got the breaking ball that didn't quite come in to the back door. 1-1. Ross is set of the belt and misses outside. 2 balls and a strike. Last time we saw Robbie was 3 days ago against the Houston Astros. Slow topper down the third baseline. It's going to dribble off into foul territory. That would even the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Robbie in that game against the Astros worked an inning, gave up a walk, did not allow a run to score. He is set for the 2-2.
Norris is one of the better hitting catchers in the league. One of the better hitters in the league, really, first part of the season. But his last 45 games, he's falling on hard times, too. It seems like that's a common refrain among all the ace hitters.
Yep.
His last 45 games, he's hitting in the 220s. You can just tell watching him and Moss, they're not hitting the same pitches they were hitting early in the season. They just don't look like the same hitters right now that they were earlier in the season. And they weren't missing many pitches to hit.
The pitch low and in. The count has now gone full. Well, Norris with 1 out, trying to get a board against Ross. Sam Fuld waiting in the on-deck circle. 1 out. We'll see if Reddick takes off from first. He's staying put and got him swinging. A little cut fastball from Robbie Ross in under the hands of Derek Norris for the strikeout. And they're now 2 away.
Well, and Robbie is at his best. That's his pitch. You can get it in on the right-hand hitters, make him miss, jam him. And when he's not quite at his best, then he's having a hard time getting that pitch into the right-hand hitters. But that was exactly what he was trying to do with that, Cutter.
That pitch in the dirt. It gets away from Torino, so down to second goes Reddick. That ball went straight up in the air as Robinson tried to block it, and Torinos couldn't find it anyplace. A wild pitch charged to Ross. The last place you probably look for that is straight up in the air. So that's where it went. 1 ball, no strikes to Fuld. Fuld just 2 at-bats against Ross. 0 for both those. 240 average for the year. And that'll make the count a ball and 2 strikes. 86 runs on 7 hits tonight. Rangers 1 run on 3 hits. 1 error led to one of the 6 A's runs being unearned. Sam Fuld trying to pick up Josh Reddick, who is out at second. Robbie back to the plate. Spins him around with an inside fastball. 2-2. Next pitch. Left center field. Elvis Martinez started back now and moves over to his right and in a couple of steps. And the side is retired, but Oakland puts 3 on the board on 3 hits. They strand 1. We're halfway through the ballgame. It's the A's 6 and the Rangers 1. Is sponsored by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Globe Life, the official life insurance company of the Texas Rangers. Nice Friday evening crowd here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. The score not what the Ranger fans would prefer. A's on top, 6-1. Rangers come to bat here trying to change that in the bottom of the 5th inning. Rosales takes a fastball for strike 1 from Scott Kazmir. Rosales, a ground ball to short, his first time to the plate. Kazmir with the 0-1. Adam, 1 for 12 on the homestand is Alex Claudio. Lucy's in the Ranger bullpen. It's out of play down the right side and moves the count to a ball and 2 strikes.
And the Indians won their game tonight. That it's a critical game. Doesn't look like they're going to have an opportunity to go to the postseason. But the interesting part of that game is Corey Kluber. 8 shutout innings in that game, struck out 11, only gave up 5 hits. Not a name that a lot of fans would associate with the Cy Young Award, but he's right in the running with it. Sure the kind of year he's had. Top 2 or 3 in ERA, top 2 or 3 in strikeouts. I think that was his 18th win of the season. He's had a great year for Cleveland.
Very quietly.
Very quietly. Well, these numbers are right there with Felix Hernandez. Chris Sale's got good numbers, but he's only pitched about 170 innings. I can't see him competing with the guys with 220 innings. Besides, can't get Adam Rosales out anyway.
That's right.
He had a better ERA if he didn't have to face Adam. Probably an extra win too.
Yeah, most likely. 2 home run game back in the 5th of August. 0-1, and now 0-2 to ROUGNED ODOR. Matter of fact, that was, could have been for Chris Sale. Adam Rosales might not have won the August Player of the Year award for the Rangers.
That's right, Player of the Month?
Or Player of the Month.
Yeah, that's right.
Or Player of the Year. You want to take it further. ODOR going to fight off that pitch, and he's back to the screen.
I feel pretty good about not being able to put that ball in play, because where that hit on the bat, that would have been one of those bloopers halfway to the mound. We've seen a couple of those the last week or so.
Yeah. That one hit a little bit harder, but Moss able to pick it off. The throw is behind Kazmir. ODOR will be on safely at first base. Let's see how that's ruled. It was a foot race. Kazmir and ODOR going step for step, and ROUGNED was making up ground quickly.
Yeah, that would have been a close play. Even if Moss had led him or got him the ball accurately, that would be a pretty close play. ROUGNED's bearing right down on top of him.
They're going to rule down an error on the throw from Brandon Moss. See, that might not get changed a little later on. The first error of the night for the A's. 1 on, 1 out. Daniel Robertson. Threw him a changeup.
I think, yeah, he had both fingers up off that ball. Like a palm ball.
Yeah, he threw him a palm ball. There you go. Got his pitcher out. Robertson shoots one foul back into the seats. No balls, 2 strikes. That was probably one of those ones when Brandon Moss started to make the throw and said, well, I better not. About halfway through it, it was too late. He had through it anyway. For the A's, that's their 111th error of the year. Closing in on the Cleveland Indians. The Indians have the most errors this year, 113. He's trying to catch him. Robertson, a ground ball to shortstop his first time, and Bob Melvin saying, even as good as our pitching is, it's a little tough to be good when you're committing that many errors. 0-2 pitch coming. Robertson checking with Gary Pettis down at third. Not much to look at with 1 on and 1 out and a 1-2 count. Rangers trailing by 5. They need some base runners in the middle part of this ball game. To left field, that is going to be in for a base hit. Around second, hitter for third. ODOR, the sliding safe.
Oh, what a throw by Ford.
Sure was.
A left-handed thrower going toward the line. It's not that easy to get in position to throw that, but he got over there on a dead sprint, wheeled and fired a one-hop strike to third. That's a great play by Sam Fuld. ROUGNED just barely got in there.
I just took for granted when I saw that ball where it was going that it was going to be an easy play for ODOR to get in, and he just did beat the tag.
He did. Let's see. I think he got there. They looked at the replay and decided not to challenge it. Nice pickup by Donaldson, too. Caught the short hop.
Well, a single for Robertson. He takes second on the throw, and now the Rangers with runners at second and third. They're going to give him a double on that play. They're going to say that he would have gone to second no matter what. So a double for Daniel Robertson. The Rangers now have 3 doubles tonight in their 4 hits. Quick conference on the mound. Kurt Young, the pitching coach, out to talk to the infield. Robertson at second, trailing ROUGNED ODOR at third, and Leonis Martin is at the plate. So Rangers making some noise here, trying to climb back in this ball game. They trail 6-1, 2 on with 1 out. And the first pitch in at the knees to Martin. Leonis started things off tonight by singling and scoring back in the first inning. Popped out to short his last time up. A's, of course, playing the infield back with one out. And a jam by Jasmine. Really fought that pitch up. 0-2. I think that Jasmine has done pretty well this year. Has pitched effectively with runners in scoring position against the opposition. We got 2 on and just 1 out here in the 5th inning. In the dirt, nice stop by Norris. Casimir this year has given up just a 198 average with runners in scoring position. That's among the league leaders with 2 outs. He is the best in those situations. Rolled up the middle softly. That's going to get the run home. Sogard, off balance throw across his body, and he just does get Leonis Martin. But in to score, ROUGNED ODOR on to third. Daniel Robertson. Rangers got the lead. It's now 6-2.
Toward the end of the year, with a couple of days left, it's always fun to look at the numbers the players have to see if they can round off their numbers. Leonis Martin had 39 RBIs. Now he's got 40 with that RBI, so he's rounded off his RBI totals. Some guys are hitting 278. They want to hit 280. The other ones are when you've got 98 or 99 runs batted in, you want to get 100. That's kind of a key one. If you're hitting 298, you want to hit 300. Sounds selfish, but it's human. You know, those are the kind of things you think about.
When you're hitting 201 and don't want to hit 199.
Yeah, that's what you say. Coach, my ankle's a little sore today. I don't think I want to go below the Mendoza line.
Mendoza line is right center field. Coco Crisp over there to make the catch. Elvis pretty well hit, but out. And the Rangers settle for 1 run on 1 hit. There was an error and 1 man left. After 5 complete, it's the A's 6 and the Rangers 2 on TXA 21.
Sixth inning, Bill Jones now with Sean Decker to talk about a big event coming up next, well, not next month, but on November 8th.
That's right. Yeah, November 8th, we're really excited to party, to bring back the Eli Young Band House Party 2. It's a great partnership with the band. We're going to have 5 bands this year. We're going to start with Maddie and Tay, followed by Cody Johnson, Pat Green, Gary Allen, and then Eli Young Band headlining the show.
So 2nd straight year you've had Eli Young Band here and had more than 18,000 here last year.
That's right. Yeah, it was a great party last year. We're really excited to have everybody back again. We've got tickets starting at just $29, and you can get them at TexasRangers.com/Eli Young Band.
All right, appreciate it, Sean. Now back to you, Steve Busby and Tom Grieve, who I know just loves all that country music that will be here on November 8th.
Sure,
Yeah, and I know you're going to be there to see what the concession stand has in
There
store.
you go. That's exactly right. You got any burritos?
We'll sell burritos. We'll have them ready to go at the concession stand.
What Bill's referring to was one day in Arizona, I went down to the concession stand and got a burrito, and it was giant. And I brought it up on purpose to eat it right in front of him while he was sitting there doing his lineups. And I'm eating the burrito, and I catch him kind of looking over a little bit, watching me eat that burrito. And the next day, he went down and got 2 of them. Those things were big. I could barely finish one.
Well, he was in training.
Yeah, he was. I kid him about that all the time. That guy's got an appetite, boy.
Well, 1 out here on the ground ball off the bat of Eric Sogard, and Coco Crisp turning around to hit from the right side against Robbie Ross Jr. Crisp 0 for 3 tonight, but he did reach in the 3rd and scored a run.
You know, Buzz, we were talking about rounding off numbers at the end of the season. The most famous one was probably Ted Williams,
Yeah.
who decided to play a doubleheader on the last day of the season when he could have sat it out and hit 400.
Right.
And he went 6 for 8 and hit whatever it was, 406 or 408.
I think he was hitting 401
Yeah.
before those 2 games.
And if he went 0 for in one of the games, he would have been below,
Right.
below 400. So 406 it was, and that's a good lesson for everybody. Don't ever take a day off if the manager wants your name in the lineup, no matter what the numbers are going to be.
Especially if you can hit the way Ted could.
There you go. Yeah, he wasn't too worried about it. He knew who was pitching for the other team. The other guy you have to have a lot of respect for. And my mind just went black. The pitcher for Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Help me out, Fritz.
Phil Hughes.
Phil Hughes. Even Fritz couldn't remember. He's only 24 years old. Phil Hughes. Phil Hughes had a $500,000 bonus. I think it was for 210 innings.
Yeah.
And he pitched 8 innings in his last start, and ended up with 209 2/3 innings. And Minnesota said to him, if you want to pitch again to get that bonus, we'll let you do it. And he said, no, it wouldn't be right. I had my last start. I wasn't scheduled to pitch. This organization gave me a great contract and a great opportunity to pitch. I'm very grateful for that. I've made a lot of money. I've earned some bonuses. And that particular bonus just wasn't meant to be. And I don't know Phil Hughes, but he had a spectacular season. Another guy that had a very quiet, excellent season.
Yeah.
But that kind of an attitude, and I won't say in today's game, and just in everyday life, to turn down that opportunity to make that kind of money because it wasn't scheduled and he didn't think it was right, and he respected his organization. That's pretty amazing. You don't see many guys make that kind of a decision. This little guy might have that decision to make in about 20 years.
Yep.
You never know. Got his glove.
Ball strike 3 as Adam Brown frozen like a popsicle up there by Robbie Ross Jr., who works a perfect 1-2-3-6. After 5.5, it's the 86 and the Rangers 2. It's time for the Sonic Slam Inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,800 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Richard Collins from Frisco. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Richard Collins from Frisco is going to celebrate with $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Ryan Rua to start things off here against Scott Kazmir. Left-hander throws ball one. That's just a little bit low. Rua, the RBI double back in the first inning. Last time up as he led off the fourth, rounded out the third. 1 out of 2. 309 average. He takes that one in at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike.
The Buzz, we were talking about Phil Hughes, and some of the people may not be aware of the numbers he put up and maybe saying what was so great about his year. One of the main things he accomplished this year is he had a .7 walks per 9 innings number, struck out 186, and he walked like 14 or 15, 16 guys, set the all-time strikeout to walk ratio. Beat Brett Saberhagen. For any pitcher that qualified for the ERA title. What's that? 162 innings pitched?
Yeah, one inning
somewhere around there
per game.
1 inning per game. Right. The all-time strikeout to walk ratio record.
He won 16 games for a Twins team, then he won 68.
That's pretty good.
Round ball to the right side. Moss cuts it off, and he will win the race to the bag with Ryan Rua for out number 1. Now Adrian Beltre will come up as Roman Mendez is loose in the Ranger bullpen. Now that strikeout to walk ratio is just ridiculous. There's the Adrian Beltre fan club out there.
That's great.
That might be better.
Where are they? Oh, they're down in the wedgie.
Yeah. Better job of getting them lined up than we could do out there.
It took a lot of planning.
Sure did. Adrian, a strikeout and a foul fly out tonight. 1 ball, no strikes. Beltre at 325 for the year. Well, you have to admire what this guy's done too, considering all the calamity around him. He is still putting together another solid year. The run production numbers not up where he would normally have them, but we've talked about that. All the injuries in the lineup, we just haven't had as many opportunities. 1-1 pitch to him. Little skipping rope out of the way of that. 2-1. But with opposing teams not willing to pitch to him the last couple of months, no protection in the order. Beltre is still able to hit in mid 320s. And he's going to drive in, right at 80 runs this year probably, unless he has a big last 3 ball games, or 2.5 ball games. Right center field, coming on is Reddick. He's there in time to make the grab. That is out number 2, and it'll be Jake Smolinski now to come up. I think you have to, talking about Beltre, don't you have to admire the kind of example he's setting for the younger guys that are coming up around him?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's been a motivating factor for him this year.
Yeah.
To project that to the younger players.
Yeah, and I will never forget the statement that he made about not wanting them to, even as bad as things were, get used to losing or get used to feeling that's okay to lose.
Well, a lot of things contribute to what happens on the field, and they're hard to quantify, but maybe that whole attitude and that statement and the way he led had something to do with the way the team's finishing.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure, but it's certainly probably a factor anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that's been part of it. A rallying point, something to hang your hat on. Guys talking about finishing strong, and Jake Smolinski got fooled by the changeup by Kazmir. Kazmir racks up strikeout number 3. The Rangers gone in order. We have finished 6 innings at Globe Life Park. It's the A's 6, the Rangers 2 on TXA 21. Is sponsored by Freedom Chevrolet. Nobody beats a Freedom deal. Nobody. The 7th inning, a nice fireworks Friday night crowd out here at Globe Life Park. Rangers at the moment trailing to the A's 6-2. And as we head to the 7th inning, Roman Mendez enters the ball game to take over for the Rangers.
Yep, good numbers for Roman as well. He's been very impressive. Very solid fastball that reaches the mid-90s and good pitches to go along with it. Nice ERA and a great opponent's batting average. He's been tough to hit. 167 opponent's batting average.
Mendez will face Josh Donaldson to start things off, then Brandon Moss and Jed Lowry. Donaldson 2 for 3 tonight. A pair of singles, a run scored. And Mendez missing outside with that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. 1-0. Donaldson a 254 average. Mendez a long pause. Now the 1-0 pitch. A ball and a strike. Donaldson 1 for 2 against Mendez. That one hit a double, which is no surprise. Donaldson, a big extra base hit guy. 1-2. Doubles for Donaldson and 2 triples this year to go along with his 28 home runs. Swing.
I can tell by the way he swung at that pitch and the way he's moving that knee is still bothering him. It must be the kind of thing that he can't make any worse, or I don't think Bob Melvin would keep him in the lineup right now. You can just tell by how flat-footed he was in that swing and how he was running the bases that that's still bothering him. Maybe it's more of a bruise than a twisting of any sort. It looked like he just kind of banged it right into the ground.
Well, there's some kind of a wrap on that left leg.
Is there?
Yeah. And whether there's a brace on there too, I don't know. But he certainly wasn't pivoting on that left leg as he went through the swing.
Not at all.
No, 1 out on the strikeout. Here's Brandon Moss, who has a couple of walks to his credit tonight, along with a strikeout. The Rangers again going to that overshift on the infield. Mendez with the pitch low and inside for ball 1. Adrian Beltre all by his lonesome over there on the left-hand side. Moss 236 with the average. He awaits the pitch, which is on the way. 2 balls, no strikes. John Edwards running to loosen in that Ranger bullpen. 2-0 pitch coming to Moss. 95 and on the corner. That's not one you want to throw those hands out there for. Pitch right down on the inside corner. To left field. Smolinski drifting over to his right. That is out number 2. A strikeout, a fly ball. 2 up, 2 gone, and Jed Lowry now will come up. Here's tonight's TXU Energy replay of the game. And how about the catch by Elvis Andrus back in the 3rd inning against Jed Lowry. Elvis making a great extended leap for the ball and pulled it in. That is our TXU Energy replay of the game. TXU Energy, inspired by you. Elvis, we've seen several outstanding defensive plays. That the best tonight by the Rangers. Lowry 2 for 3, a double, a single, and an RBI. Also scored a run. He finds himself now down to the count, no balls and 2 strikes to Roman Mendez. Average at 247 for Lowry. Fly ball well hit to right field. Going back, Robertson parallel the wall and makes the catch as he bangs into the catch. Lowry gave it a ride but came up a couple of feet short. Nice play by Daniel Robertson. He's gone in the 7th, and it's stretch time at Globe Life Park. 6-2. The A's are leading. And now let's join Chuck Morgan as he introduces God Bless America.
The servicemen and women who are serving our country at home and around the world. We invite everyone in Globe Life Park to join in singing God Bless America.
un solo
Texas Rangers baseball on TXA 21 is sponsored by Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. And by Frost. Visit frostbank.com. Robinson Chirinos will start things off here in the bottom of the seventh. Rangers find themselves trailing 6-2 to Scott Kazmir and the Athletics. Chirinos 0 for 2, a ground out and a strikeout. Kazmir pouring in strike one. That was the 91st pitch of the night for the A's left-hander. 239 the average for Chirinos. There's the next pitch off. And the count moves to 0-2. Kazmir throwing a lot of strikes tonight. 92 pitches, 67 of them for strikes.
That's a great percentage.
25 balls. Yes, it is.
Well, he's on a mission after his last two starts didn't quite go the way he wanted them to. Trying to finish strong with this start and enter into the postseason.
Even some folks around the Bay Area suggesting Kazmir was not going to make it.
Yeah,
he's not going to be able to finish the season out with them.
Well, the way he pitched the last two starts, and basically his last 16 starts, we mentioned earlier, his ERA is 5.30 over his last 16 starts. So it's been a struggle in the second half. But this is a nice step in the right direction for him so far.
2-2, the count to Chirinos. Call, strike three. Lemel bringing up that third strike, and that is the fourth punch out for Kazmir tonight. Next will be Adam Rosales.
He's done a lot of that tonight. Painting that outside corner to the right-hand hitters.
And that's, well, you put that ball there. That's not just a house painter. We're talking about an artist.
The other thing is, in a lot of the games we've seen him pitch against the Rangers, he's thrown a lot more changeups than he's thrown tonight. He's featured his fastball. You can tell he feels good about his fastball, his ability to locate it. That's been his pitch tonight. He hasn't had to try to trick anybody.
By inning, that first inning, 24, almost a quarter of the pitches he has thrown exactly in that first inning. He has been very, very tough since then. Rosales tonight has found a difficulty. He has grounded out twice to shortstop. First base side into foul territory goes Moss. With room, that is out number 2. Oh, 7 straight now sent down by Kazmir. He's had a lot of streaks of 6, 7, and 11 in a row retired tonight. ROUGNED ODOR will be next. ODOR reached on an error in the 5th inning and came around to score. ROUGNED a .257 average. 0-1. ODOR in the month of September. This is 21st game and his 20th start. Sitting right at 300. Talking about finishing strong, and ODOR is showing you exactly what that's all about. Seems like a distant memory that ODOR was really struggling offensively. Well, he's turned things around in this final month of the year. Kazmir peering in for the sign. Another 0-2 pitch. Call strike 3. ODOR knew it. Just turned and walked away. Kazmir, 5 strikeouts, sends the Rangers down in order. And he is now retired 8 straight. On to the 8th, 6-2 Oakland. A 21 Honda Dealer of the Game is Rusty Wallace Honda. The A's come to bat here in the top of the 8th inning, leading 6-2. And Tim Bogar has put in the call to the bullpen. He has brought in Neil Kotz to handle the 8th inning.
Yeah, Neil, 71st ball game for Neil. And a couple of opportunities to save games when Neffy hasn't been available. Generally, he's been pitching the 8th inning for the Rangers.
And Josh Reddick, the first Oakland hitter that he faces, and Neil, there's a fastball right on by him. Reddick, a home run, a solo home run, and a 2-run single. He has had 3 runs driven in tonight. He's increased his RBI total to 52. Batting average now at 257. Kotz back to the plate. And it's skied to shallow center field. There's Martin calling off. Greg Smolinski makes the grab. That is out number 1. Well, Neil Kotz now, get a look at Dan Otero in the Oakland bullpen. Neil Kotz set a new career high for himself with his 71st appearance. Back in 2006, he had 70 appearances with the Chicago White Sox. And 58 last year with the Rangers. Norris, chopper out to short. Elvis on the run. He's out number 2. Well, 10 straight now sent down by Ranger pitchers. And Robbie Ross Jr. retired the last 5 that he faced. Roman Mendez had all 3 in the 7th, and Neil Kotz the first 2 here in the 8th. 2 out very quickly. Sam Fuld is the next Oakland hitter. Fuld 0 for 2 with a walk. Average of 239. Neil Kotz pouring in strike after strike. That is 5 pitches for Kotz and 5 strikes. One and one. Kiss of death. I got him.
Yeah, you got him.
Sorry, Neil.
Tough to be perfect, though.
Oh, you weren't. Kotz ready for the 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. And of course, last year put that all-time season together for the Rangers as far as Ranger franchise history goes. A 111 earned run average in those 58 games. Little tap around in front of home plate, and Chirinos will fire on the first. And it's a very quick and tidy 8-pitch inning for Neil Kotz. Sends down the A's in 1-2-3 fashion after 7.5. It's the A's 6 and the Rangers 2. we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Daniel Robertson, the number 9 hitter, will start things off, and the sinker ball specialist, Dan Otero, on for the 2nd straight night.
Yep, good numbers for Dan Otero. And he's definitely a sinker ball pitcher, gets a lot of ground balls. He also pitches a lot of innings. This will be getting to 86 innings pitched. Not a big strikeout guy, but he gets a lot of weakly hit ground balls. Not many walks, only 15 walks in 85 innings. Keeps the ball in the ballpark pretty well, which you would expect from a very good sinker ball pitcher.
Well, taking over for Scott Kazmir, who probably had his best outing in quite some time. Maybe the outing he had September the 11th against the White Sox, went 8 innings, but tonight 7 strong innings, just 1 earned run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Looking for his first win since the middle of August.
Yeah,
trying to take that further.
I think if I were Scott Kazmir coming out of this game, I'd be feeling great because I pounded the strike zone with my fastball. I threw it where I wanted to. I had great success. Didn't walk a batter. Mixed in a changeup and a slider whenever you needed to. But mostly, it was kind of a dominating performance with his fastball.
Yep.
That was, I'm sure, gratifying to the A's and makes Scott Kazmir feel well himself.
Melvin alerting his troops as to the possibility of a bunt by Leonis Martin. Daniel Robertson just saw grounded out. The first pitch by Otero is low and in for ball 1. Leonis 1 for 3 tonight. Did have an RBI on a ground out back in the 5th inning. So 40 RBI for the season. Otero gets that sinker in at the knees. 1-1. Otero worked an inning last night. Struck out a pair. Faced only the minimum of 3 hitters, and he has the kind of arm that you could use him night after night after night, and he's just as sharp as you can ever want him. 2-1 pitch. Line to center. Look, go crisp. Right there as that ball carried quite a ways. It's out number 2. A pretty good wood on it. Now here's Elvis. He was 0 for 3 tonight. Elvis, a couple of ground outs and a fly ball to center. Elvis against did not face Otero. I'm sorry, that was Gregerson he faced last night and rounded out. One-zero pitch. Elvis is not leaving. He's coming back, but he's trying to wait till it stops hurting. A foul ball right off his foot. One and one. Smack it a couple times like Beltre does. Elvis is still not ready. Looked like that got him right on the toe. He was flexing that foot. Yeah, he's ready to get back in. Otero can make a lot of right-handed hitters especially do that. It's the outside corner this time. 1 ball, 2 strikes. An idea from our center field camera position that how much that ball really moves down and into right-handed hitters. Tapper right back to Otero. You know, that does it for the Rangers here in the 8th. 3 up and 3 down. We'll go to the 9th inning. It's the A's 6 and the Rangers 2 on Live Park tonight, having a great time. Rangers probably make them enjoy the evening a little bit more if they can mount a ninth inning rally. But first, it's going to be up to Alex Claudio. See if he can calm down the Oakland Athletics here in the top of the ninth inning.
Alex's numbers, 10 2/3. He's had 13 strikeouts, more than a strikeout for any. Doesn't light up the radar gun, but he can definitely tie some hitters in knots with his changeup.
22-year-old left-hander Alex Claudio sets, and the first hitter he's facing is Eric Sogard. And a topper off the bare hand of Claudio, and that's going to go for a base hit. Well, ODOR made that a lot closer than I thought he was going to after that ball ricocheted off the bare hand of Alex Claudio. But Sogard gets down that line pretty quickly and beat the throw.
That was an excellent play by ODOR. Not a hard hit ball, so no risk to Alex's hand. Like the first base umpire was getting ready to say out, turned it into a safe call and made the right call. It looks like.
The one on, nobody out. And the first pitch to Coco Crisp is in the dirt for ball one. Crisp been 0 for 4 tonight. Scored a run back in the third. He reached on a fielder's choice. Other than that, he has flied out a couple of times and grounded to short. Claudio, a quick move over to first, but Sogard read that pretty well. Now Claudio set for the 1-0. Drops in that breaking ball. That evens the count. Crisp, and it would figure, the only double play he's grounded into this year has been as a right-handed hitter. That extra step that he gets batting left-handed has served him very well. And he may hit it into his second double play. Back to first, and there it is. 4-6-3, and that is historical, folks. That's the grand total of 2 double plays that Coco Crisp had grounded into this year.
Now, if he gets hit by a pitch tomorrow, you really have a story. You've seen a double play and a hit by pitch, something that very rarely happens to him, but that's about as perfect a double play ball as you can get. Fairly hard hit, big hop, simple toss to short, and it doesn't matter how fast you are, you're not going to beat that out.
Yeah. Well, the double play erases Sogard, so Adam Dunn, who was going to be pinch hit for by Johnny Gomes, instead is going to come up and hit with the bases empty. Dunn 1 for 4 tonight. That big 2-run double. Got the first 2 runs aboard for the A's back in the third inning. He takes a Claudio breaking ball. It's 1-0. Rangers, as always, with Dunn up there going into that overshift. 3 infielders on the right side. A wave and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike. Beltre cheating even more toward the bag now. They're almost into a 4 guys on the right side shift. One pitch. 2-1. John Doolittle, the closer. Ryan Cook, right-handed compliment out there. Changeup floats wide. 3 balls and a strike. Well, if Dunn is able to get aboard to keep this 9th inning going, Josh Donaldson, right-handed hitting third baseman, waits to be next. Fouled off. The count is full. Looking out at the scoreboard now, we see Seattle has put 3 on the board in the bottom of the second against Jared Weaver and the Angels.
They're going to have to wait around a long time tonight to find out if Seattle wins. They'll have to come back and do it again tomorrow.
Got him swinging. Well, a strikeout ends the top of the 9th inning. Claudio gives up a hit, but a double play grounder takes care of that. Rangers coming to bat at the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 4. Rua, Beltre, and Smolitsky to get it. On TX 821 is sponsored by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. By Globe Life, the official life insurance company of the Texas Rangers. And by TXU Energy, inspired by you. The Rangers with one more chance to get back at the A's in this ball game and maybe deliver a second straight come from behind win against Sean Doolittle. A's closer has taken over here for the bottom of the 9th inning.
That's been an excellent year for Sean Doolittle. Pretty impressive numbers. 88 strikeouts and 8 walks. Rangers got to him though. Rougned ODOR hit a bullet into the left center field gap to drive in a run. J.P.R. and Sibia took him deep way out of left field. Those are excellent numbers. A 167 opponent's batting average and an incredible 11-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio.
Let's see if the Rangers can get ODOR up against him again tonight. ODOR is the 6th scheduled hitter in the inning. That would mean something good is happening.
Chance to do some damage.
Ryan Rua to start things off. Rua 1 for 3 tonight, an RBI double. And Doolittle pumps in strike 1. Rua 306. Now with 14 RBI for his major league career. 0-2. Doolittle getting the sign from Derek Norris. 0-2 pitch on the way. Got him swinging. Elevating that fastball, and that is a trademark of Sean Doolittle. A lot of high fastballs when he gets ahead in the count.
Third baseman, Adrian.
Oh, one away. Adrian Beltre now will step in. Adrian, of course, the hero last night, the walk-off home run. He is 0 for 3 here tonight, and batting at .324. 1 ball, no strikes. Beltre 1 for 4 in his career against Doolittle. Left-hander sets. And Beltre bangs one into left field, a base hit. And there's some top spin on that. It's a good thing. As hard as he hit that ball, that would have carried all the way out to Sam Full had it not sunk right in front of it. A 1 on, 1 out. And Jake Smolinski now will come up.
Someone turned his ankle. And
yeah.
Favored as he jumped up in the air and just kind of flipped the ball back in.
Smolinski takes a strike on the outer edge. That's one of those unforced errors.
Yeah. Kissed it, and then in the spur of the moment like that, not sure whether he heard it or not, so he jumped up in the air to favor it, came back down and said, well, it's okay. It hurts a little bit, but no damage done, apparently.
1 ball and 1 strike. Smolinski tonight, 1 for 3. He had a double back in the 4th inning. Rangers with 5 hits tonight. Have been handled pretty nicely so far by A's pitching. And Smolinski, it's a towering pop-up. Left side of the infield, and Lowry, the shortstop, makes the grab. Oh, Jake just got under that. He had a pretty good hack at that high fastball.
Yep, that's one of those balls you can't hit it that high if you don't hit it on a sweet part of the bat. He just missed it.
So the Rangers now down to their last out, and Robinson Chirinos will try and keep this going. Chirinos 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts this evening. Beltre at first will not be held on by Brandon Moss. Doolittle with the first pitch. It's fouled out of play by Chirinos. The final from Chicago, Tim Bogart looking at the scoreboard as we are, and Kansas City has defeated the Chicago White Sox for the 2nd straight night, 3-1 this evening. And with Detroit's loss now, the Royals still in the running for the division round in the Central. They are 1 game back of the Tigers with 2 games to play. And they are also now a game and a half ahead of the A's for the top wild card spot. Doolittle with a 1-1 pitch. 2-1. Chirinos back in there. Doolittle, a check of Beltre. And it's popped up. Coming down the line, Doolittle out for the mask is Norris, and the catcher makes the grab. And Sean Doolittle able to close out the Rangers, something he was not able to do in Oakland about 10 days ago. The A's win the 2nd game of this 4-game series. It's now even at a game apiece. Tonight's final, 6-2 in favor of Oakland. Oakland 6 runs on 8 hits tonight. Rangers 2 runs on 5 hits. We'll come back to wrap things up right after this on TXA 21.